Thanks for clicking. My name is Mark Mitchell. I'm a mortgage broker here in London, Ontario. Allstar released its monthly update on London's real estate market this week, which will undoubtedly make major news. For the first time in a long time, the average price of a home in London actually fell. This is going to be music to the ears of a lot of first-time home buyers, as we might very well be seeing the start of a cooling real estate market. This news comes amid reports that London's home values have risen over $200,000 in the past year alone. So I know many buyers out there have been waiting to see when and if the market is going to cool, and this might just be the start. So what I want to do today is go over March's real estate data, talk about some of the signs that we've seen of a cooling market, and go over what to look for next. April is set to be a big month for Canadian real estate, and I'm sure real estate in London as well, as we are set to see the Bank of Canada's interest rate announcement in a few weeks, with many predicting that we're going to be seeing rates go even higher, maybe even up to 50 basis points higher. The Trudeau government is also set to release its budget with a focus on housing next week, and we're also set to receive our inflation data later on in the month, which will obviously have a large impact on our economy and on our interest rates going forward. We'll obviously have updates on all of that as they come out, so make sure you click like and subscribe if you want to get those updates. But for now, let's get into March's data. So on to the data. Most lifelong Londoners were flabbergasted last month when our average home price reached $823,000 in change. We have seen some relief this month as our average home price actually plunged down to $807,540. So we've seen almost a $20,000 price drop in the month of March. And not only did our average price drop, but so did our median price. The median price is where half as many homes were sold for over that price and half as many were sold under that price. If you remember, in February, London's median home price was $777,000. That dropped as well, although not as much as our average price, but we still saw a drop down to $775,000. Now, a $2,000 difference in 1 month may not seem like a whole lot, but compared to the massive increase in prices that we've been seeing for the past few months, this is definitely welcome news to a lot of first-time home buyers. So not only did we see the average price of a home drop and the median price of a home drop, we also saw less houses going for over asking, or if they did go for over asking, by a smaller amount. If you'll remember, in February, London's sales to list price ratio was 125.6. That actually dropped to 121.6. So we did see a 5% drop in London's sales to list price ratio. So houses are still going over asking price, but not by as much. So the average price of a home in London, the median price of a home in London, and the amount that these homes are going over asking price all dropped in the month of March. And this could be for a variety of reasons, but I think a lot of it has to do with the rate hikes that we've already had and with the rate hikes that are coming down the pipe in the future. Last month, the Bank of Canada raised rates by 25 basis points, but since then, we've also seen mortgage rates skyrocket as well. In fact, last month we saw a flip. Whereas in the prior few years, you had to qualify at either 2% above your contract rate, the rate you pay, or 5.25%. Because mortgage rates were so low, most people qualified at 5.25%. But because rates have gone up so much, buyers are now having to qualify at that contract plus 2%. So if you have a mortgage rate of, say, 3.7, which is an excellent rate in this market, you're now having to qualify at 5.7%. So this is definitely bringing down the amount of mortgages that home buyers can afford. This isn't going to be over anytime soon. Many are predicting that the Bank of Canada will be raising interest rates come their April 13th rate announcement. And we've talked about before on this channel about buyer and seller psychology. If you're a seller and you're starting to see rates go up and you're starting to see news like the one that came out from Allstar this week that prices are starting to go down and you were planning on selling anyway, you're going to get your house listed while people can still afford to buy the house at the price you thought you were going to get. So we should start to see, in fact we have seen, as I've talked to quite a few realtors, we have seen a flood of the market of new properties. For the past few weeks even, we've seen there being more listings than there were sold. And that's fairly new to London for at least the past few years. So we are seeing more and more sellers start to hit the market, more and more sellers listing their properties, hoping to cash in at the market's peak if it's not already passed. Further, buyer psychology. If you're a buyer and you see this writing on the wall that there are more and more listings out there and you see prices drop, such as the data today, if you see prices drop, you very well might wait to see how much lower these prices can get. So we may be starting to see a shift in London, Ontario's market. We're also seeing shifts elsewhere. I've talked to a few realtors from Toronto, and they're starting to see some shifts as well. So it's too early to call the end of housing mania in London. Obviously, whether or not we are in the final stages of housing mania in London is going to largely depend on the Bank of Canada and how high they raise interest rates. It's going to largely depend on our inflation rate, and it's going to largely depend on what new housing measures come down the pipe during the federal budget set to be released next week. We'll obviously have updates out on all three as this continues and as we continue to watch this real estate market and whether or not we're seeing a shift, both Canada-wide, but definitely here in London, Ontario as well. If you want to get those updates, make sure you click like and subscribe, and thanks so much for watching.